So if you have actually looked at the program today, you will see my title actually is speaker. So I guess the organizer want me to talk about myself. Well, I'm not going to talk about myself, but I will start my talk with a personal story, okay? So it was almost 40 years ago when I left Taiwan to study in the United States. I was very lonely, and I missed my family a lot. At that time, the international call was very expensive. The internet was at the beginning. There was no Skype, no WeChat. So the only way I stayed in contact with my family was a small overseas parcel every few months. Inside, there was a 2-hour cassette tape of my father's voice telling me what happened back home. Now, once in a while, I will make a short call to him to let him know that I really enjoyed the tape and would appreciate receiving more. But as you know, as an overworked student, I actually never finished listening to any of them before the next one arrived. But you know what? Now my father passed away 2 years ago. This tape now become the most valuable memory he left for me, and the best way for us to stay connected. These days, when I replay these old tapes, the human touch that they represent still feel very timeless to me. Now, this reminds me of my own sons. Both of them now grown up and live in different cities. So as I browse through their Facebook page and send them a short message, I often wonder, someday after I leave this world, how will they remember me? How do we stay in contact? Can the text message stored in the cloud give them the same richness of humanity that my father's cassette tape brought to me? There's no doubt that the internet has made a great impact on civilization and has transformed humanity over the past 40 years. But as human beings, have we made real progress with this technology? Have we already passed a tipping point where the internet starts to advance civilization at the expenses of humanity? Today, I'm going to explain to you why I believe such a tipping point has already been crossed. And as such, how humanity is being impaired on the internet. And then I will show you what I think we can do, and then call your action to redirect the use of internet to better serve humanity. So, ideally, technology should have a synergetic relation in advancing civilization and benefiting humanity. However, the endless cycle of competition and expansion often will destroy this relation, especially for technology that change how we act and how we interact. So when such technology expands too fast, for us to really carefully think about the implication of individual and collective behavior, then what you see is unintended consequences can occur which will threaten humanity. Now, the irony is, since the market economy always rewards technology that advances civilization in the short term, people tend to turn a blind eye toward the gradual decline of humanity until it is too late. So nowhere is this more evident than the internet today. Just over the past 5 years, the global use of internet increased 60%. There were statistics saying in 2016, every day we Google 6 billion times. We send 250 billion emails. We tweet 500 million times. And we like the Facebook post 6 billion times each day. Every day, we upload 4 million hours of video to YouTube. And people collectively on Earth watch 1 billion hours of videotape on YouTube every day. So, as Eric Schmidt said, that human beings create as much information in 2 days now as they did from the dawn of the mankind through 2003. Okay, so as a technologist myself, I couldn't be happier to see all this happening, that the internet really advanced our civilization as fast as ever before. But as a human being, I often wonder, are we really better off in terms of humanity that represent the good nature of being human? Certainly, the internet has made human beings' life better. But has it made a better human being? So now let me share with you some example how the internet has changed our individual and social behavior that really define us. These days, if you quickly check the online Google, that will right away stop a very meaningful debate that could brought more understanding of the subject. Because all the instant message require immediate reply. So the quick response takes over the thoughtful deliberation. And because the absence of emotion on the internet, and we reduce our human empathy, that lead to a lot of cyberbullying, a lot of indecency on social networking. So today, with the internet, we certainly become more efficient in doing the things right, but we become less effective do the right thing. Today, if you just happen to stumble upon an unfamiliar subject on internet, before you finish reading the first piece, more of the same subject are coming to you. The more you read, the more they come, and the more you believe what you read. So very quickly, you become an expert with narrow and biased view. This makes human beings more prejudiced, more intolerant to different opinions. If you look at those cyberbully video on the internet, it makes you wonder why some people become a very unhuman in the cyberspace. In many social interaction, many social events, you will see people, rather than talking to a real person, they rather do nothing, stare at the smartphone, waiting to be liked by virtual friend. So, is the social networking really make us more socially adequate? Because the internet has a difficulty to transmit this very intricate human feeling. So the networking capability does not translate to social connectiveness, which really matters to humanity. As a matter of fact, these days, the more you spend time on internet, the more you'll be in danger to be socially detached, to be biased, and to be superficial. So I can certainly go on with many of such examples, but all of them point to one key question. How could such a powerful technology, which has become the backbone of our civilization, carry so much risk to humanity today? Now, there are many answers to this question. I will only focus on major one, which is the lack of the context on the internet. To understand this problem, we must first understand the difference between a content and a context. Content is the information which describes a fact, such as the what, the how, you can write down. Context, on the other hand, is the information which gives the meaning to the fact, such as who and why, which you can only infer to. Let me give you one example. If I ask you a question, Is there July 4th in China? How would you answer that question? If you think this is a content question, you will answer yes, because the Chinese calendar indeed has a July 4th date, right? However, if you think I'm asking you the context of this question, your answer will be different. You will say no, because Chinese doesn't have an Independence Day. As a matter of fact, the better answer is yes, but Chinese celebrate July 4th on October 1st. You said, gee, that's confusing enough. So now let me ask you another question. Is there July 4th in Germany? How would you answer? If you are context-wise, you would say, no, Germany doesn't have Independence Day because it was never a colony. But they do celebrate the Day of Unity on October the 3rd. So, this is very important to understand. Context is more than simply more content. Today, the internet is a content-rich but context poor playground. So if you react to a content without knowing the context, it's almost like you're driving high speed at night with your headlights off. Recently, there has been many efforts try to use this data analytic, deep learning algorithm, try to extract the context from big data. They have shown some good promise in applications which have many data but few parameters. They are facing a great difficulties for domain which has a lot of parameter but few data. However, if you want to use this approach to extract human context from data, it will be impossible. Why? Because human context is many parameter, many data, many of which are implicit, they are changing, and unknown to us. So let me show you why it is so hard to abstract the human context from data, even the big data. Well, this is because when you text with a thumb, your thought is 0 dimension. When you type with fingers, can you help me to advance this? So if you type with fingers, your thought is 1 dimension. Now, if you write with your hands, you can now think 2-dimensionally on paper with more imagination. And if you talk to people, and you will be able to have a 3-dimensional conversation with feelings. Better yet, if you collaborate with people in real setting, your interaction becomes 3-dimensional, more than 3-dimensional, also including human context. So let me tell you, big data is a big deal. But without human context, it is actually a big problem. So, if we are short of data-driven approach, what can we do to deal with this deteriorating problem on the internet today? Fortunately, I believe there's an easier way to extract the human context on the internet directly. My belief is based on the fact many people done the human behavior research, and then they find out context is established when you have people working in task with shared content. So, why not use the internet to connect real people? Have them to work on real tasks with real content. Now, this may not reduce the need for data collection or for data mining, but it will certainly make the internet a much human context-rich setting. So, let me now share with you an example how the internet can be used in this human-centric approach in higher education. Over the past few years, I have been working on a global education program called iPodia. And I have established a nonprofit consortium called iPodia Alliance. Right now, it includes 13 universities across 5 different continents. iPodia uses internet to interconnect separate classrooms on different campuses, so that students can learn together as local peers.
Well, let's consider 3 students, Mary, Eitan, and Shuli. Most likely these 3 students would never meet in this world, but our classroom of the future has no boundaries, not geographical, not cultural, and not institutional. Mary walks into her 7 a.m. class in Los Angeles. She says shalom to Eitan, who just entered his 5 p.m. class in Haifa. They both say ni hao to Shuli and her 10 p.m. class in Beijing, all of them linked by 3 giant video screens, laptop displays, and social media. We could even add more campuses, more screens. Here's how it works. Mary, Eitan, and Shuli receive the content slides and lecture videos. As they study the materials at home, they answer a quiz, they post discussions on the community message board, and they give feedback on the content through a specially designed pain index. How painful was slide 10? How much intellectual anguish did part 2 of the video cause you? The interactive learning system makes recommendations like, Mary, you should help Shuli on slides 1 through 3, and Shuli, you should help Mary on slides 9 and 10. All of that feedback is aggregated for the professor to focus the actual classroom time on ideas and concepts the students are actually having difficulty with. So now it's the actual day of class. We are all interacting simultaneously through immersive video and audio. The lecture slides before the class provided lots of content, but now the students can acquire the context. Suddenly it's like bursts of global insight. Each of the 3 understands the rituals, the native foods, the relative psychology around something as simple as a toaster. Now, this classroom of the future is not instant world peace. It's not the dawning of the age of Aquarius. This is not the classroom of the future. This is the classroom of the present, and we call it iPodia. The idea here is that what students learn depends on with whom they learn. So why not learn from the very best peers from all corners of the earth? iPodia has a slogan, learning together for a better world. For them, global learning is no longer a privilege of the few, but a right of the many.
You see, iPodia uses internet to enable peer interaction across physical, institutional, and cultural boundary. Now, this is very different than the current social networking. Because rather than hiding behind your Facebook profile, students now must engage with each other directly, both online and in real classroom setting. So they interact through the internet rather than to the internet. iPodia is also very different from teleconferencing because students are required to do the pre-study by self, to engage in peer discussion, which already prepare a lot of background context to support their in-classroom exercise. And also the feedback that students gave before the class become the background context for the teacher to know exactly what students wanted to learn and to better prepare the class time. So a very important point that you need to understand about iPodia is we encourage learning from differences. Because the system automatically pairs students with different background, diverse understanding for peer learning. The diversity in the group become a very valuable learning resource that broaden everybody's perspective, help them to construct useful context, and develop mutual understanding. So if you look at iPodia, we don't really transmit the class content for distance education. Instead, we eliminate the distance between student interaction for no distance learning. So rather than sending the coursework at home to replace classroom, we actually enable peer interaction in the classroom to reinvent classroom. So what you see in iPodia is we use internet as a base, as a platform, to create a classroom without border, to provide students a global learning experience on local campus. And this is something we call global education. So, if you look at how iPodia interconnect physical classroom to support cyber interaction, you can almost think about this is the education 4.0 approach to support industrial 4.0. So here, the Internet of the thing in the Internet of Things become the classroom, in which our students work together to create an Internet of people collaboratively. This is the ultimate mission of iPodia, and this is an example how Internet can be used to benefit humanity. I know not every one of you are in education. You may not even interested in education. But every one of you can embrace a more human-oriented thinking toward Internet. And this will help us to preserve humanity. Like now we have something called carbon footprint, which measures the ecological impact on Earth, right? So why not have a cyber footprint that measures the behavioral impact on people? Now, imagine when you search Google, rather than returning you the long list of pages, it tells you your friends who may have your answer. Imagine you have an instant message system that provides you 1-minute cooldown period. If Twitter can limit us to 140 characters, why can't we limit a Facebook account to 140 friends? In addition to like, dislike, how about give us an option just to be different? I still like you, but I'm different. Better yet, how about give us a hot book that gives us real meaningful connection to real friends? So, if you look at what we're doing with Industrial 4.0, we all talk about Internet of Things. We all talk about Internet production. How about the Internet of classroom? How about the Internet of people? Let me know. No matter what you like it or not, we're all connected on the Internet today. So everyone now has a power to influence someone else for the better. So let's do something with this very powerful technology in our lifetime. Together, I'm very sure we can redirect the future direction of Internet to better serve the humanity. Thank you very much.